Hello viewers, we saw in the previous session that a structure is a bundle of data. If this bundle, besides containing data, also contains some functions, such a bundle is known as a class. Speaking more technically, a class is a user-defined data type which can hold its own data members and functions. Instances of classes are known as objects. It is the concept of class which makes C++ an object-oriented language, and programming with C++ is also known as object-oriented programming. Let us see the syntax for the definition of a class. The keyword is class, then the name of the class is class name. The variables are variable 1, variable 2 and variable 3 with of course their corresponding data types. Then we have a function 1. These three variables and function 1 are not classified as private, public or protected. Even then, by default these are private, that is, they can be accessed only by members of this class. Then after labeling as private, we have two functions, function 2 and function 3. They are by label private. They again cannot be accessed from outside the main. They can be accessed by of course members of this class, otherwise function 2 and function 3 are inaccessible. Then we have the public function 4. Since it is specified as public, this function 4 is accessible for the user from the main. From outside the class, function 4 can be accessed. Function 5 is the protected category. Function 5 can be accessed from outside the class by members of this class and also front functions of this class. This is the definition. The definition starts here and ends here. Then comes the declaration. The class name, whatever it comes over here is repeated over here, the class name. Then the objects, variable 4, 5 and 6. These variables are the names of the objects. So we have 3 objects created, and all these values or members or functions, they occur once for variable 4, once for variable 5 and once for variable 6. Here I am demonstrating a program with a class definition with the class name as point. This program is similar to the structure point which we discussed in session 12. At the same time, besides having the two data values x and y, this class also has two functions, void getXy and void printXy. These functions have the type void and they are also defined in public domain, which means these functions can be accessed from outside the class. The members x and y of the class point can be accessed from outside the class via media the two functions getXy and printXy. This is possible because they have been declared in public domain. In this program, within this class, 3 labels are visible: private, public and protected. These labels point to the level of accessibility of these members to the outside space of the class. Here we can see float x and float y, the two members. They are not specified under any label, but even then within a class, if not specified otherwise, these members are by default private. This is a very crucial aspect. X and y, even when they are not mentioned or labeled, they are by default private. In the case of the structure, the members were always public by default. However, in the case of a class, float x and float y, since they are not mentioned otherwise, they are private by default. Then there is a private label. In this class, there are no functions or members below it. Then we have the public label and in this domain we have two functions, void getXy and printXy. Let us see what these functions do. GetXy prompts the user to get the value or key in the value of x. Similarly, the value of y coordinate or the y value is also prompted for. Now we move over to printXy. This function prints the value of x and y on screen. Now x and y are accessible to the function getXy, and similarly x and y are also accessible to printXy, because these functions getXy and printXy belong to the class point. The class definition starts here and ends here. Once it is closed, here we have the declaration of two objects P1 and P2 belonging to the class point. So the objects created are P1 and P2, and the variables created thereof are P1.x, P1.y, P2.x and P2.y. These variables are not accessible outside the main directly, but they can be accessed through the functions getXy and printXy. This is possible because these functions can be accessed outside the main, and again that is because these functions are labeled as public. Then there is also one more label called protected. Members or functions listed under protected is accessible to other members of this class and also front functions. Coming to the main program, here we have the getXy function being executed for both the objects P1 and P2. So when getXy is executed for P1, the values of P1.x and P1.y are accepted for storage in memory. Similarly, when P2.getXy is executed, the values of P2.x and P2.y are accepted into memory. Print statements for the point P1, when printXy is executed, the values of x and y for P1 is printed on screen. Similarly, when P2.printXy is executed, the values of x and y for P2 is printed on screen. What we see on screen is the output of the class point program. On the top we have a documentation part. Here we have the getXy being executed for the object P1. It is collecting data P1.x and P1.y. So we shall enter the value of P1.x 3. Let us enter the value of P1.y as 4. Now the function P2.getXy is being executed. I shall enter 5.6 for P2.x, and now the system is prompting for the value of P2.y. I shall enter 7.8. And now the output has come. That is because the printXy functions P1.printXy and P2.printXy are being executed, and we get the desired outputs. The specialty of classes is that these variables P1.x and P1.y, they are holding values 3 and 4. Similarly, P2.x and P2.y, they are having values 5.6 and 7.8. These variables cannot be accessed in the normal course because they are in private domain. However, through the public functions P1.getXy and P2.getXy, these values have been accessed, and P1.printXy and P2.printXy, these values have been accessed and print on screen. So this is the level of data abstraction or data safety being ensured through classes. This is the advantage of managing data using object-oriented programming. These values x and y, which would have been otherwise inaccessible from the main because they are private, have been accessed through the public functions getXY and printXY. Now, this fact that x and y are not accessible from the main, this aspect is known as data hiding or data encapsulation. So, there is a level of protection of data which is stored in the memory of the computer. Only member functions can access these data values. Instead of separately declaring the objects P1 and P2 for the class point, it is also possible to append P1 and P2 here. I shall remove this one, and this program also gives the same result. Here I have just introduced classes. The discussion we just had is only the tip of the iceberg. Classes are among the most advanced concepts in data handling. The utility and management of classes has much more to be discussed. I shall use further sessions to elaborate on these aspects of object-oriented programming. Thank you.